It's over 90 degrees here in Minnesota today, and it's making it really hard to do absolutely anything outside. I've been working really hard here on the shop, and it's coming along quite well. I got a bunch of stuff, all the posters and everything to go off the walls yet. I'm thinking of epoxying the floor. I've been doing some research. Once I get everything out of here, I want to either epoxy it or figure out a really nice something to go on the floor for all the tanks and the fish room, etc. Some people commented though that I might appreciate just having regular concrete because it does absorb some water, and if a tank leaks or well, having tons of tanks, there's always going to be water on the floor, and some people mentioned that it's actually nice that the concrete just absorbs the water. But today has a topic. Today's video is on the DIY sponge filters. I told you guys I have been building, and I'm about to build a lot more of them. I'm going to flip the cam, and we're going to get some better views of how I made this. But I just found, actually, I've been using PVC pipe, which looks absolutely hideous inside your tanks. And it's 1-inch pipe, but I'll get to that. But I just found some black inch irrigation 1-inch pipe at Menards, and that's a home improvement store. And this is actually going to be what the future stuff is made out of. So if you absolutely hate the color black or white in your tanks like I do, I try to do black everything, as dark as possible, because then it really explodes the colors of the fish. So this is black irrigation pipe. The walls on it are not nearly as thick as PVC, but you don't need it to be thick. So, and what else I did, oh, and I picked up a terracotta plate. Maybe this will help the flower horn lay some eggs down. It's always good to have the plates. But all you do with this irrigation pipe, I really had no idea how this stuff worked. So when you're using it in the sponge filter, and I'll do a video on this in the future, but instead of using like a PVC cap, like we do on these ones at the bottom of them, all we do is put this, it's a coupler, into the pipe. And once it's in there, it doesn't come out so great. And what you do is silicone it in the pipe. So in the future, all of these will be black, but for this tutorial in today's video, it's going to be white PVC. And I gotta say, I've watched every DIY video on the planet as far as making sponge filters. And there's different ways, but this is my favorite because it's easy, it gets the job done, and it's just practical. So let's get into this tutorial. All right, so first things first, you need a sponge, and I've done hours of research looking for the best deal on the sponge I wanted, the 20 PPI sponge, and it's on eBay. It's a 4-inch by 4-inch, and you choose your length. I usually buy it like a 20-inch length and just cut it to size. I like to make my sponges around 5 inches long, so it's 4 by 4 by 5 inches. And as you can see, this stuff's pretty coarse, and that's why it works so well. It doesn't get clogged like a lot of the cheapo sponge filters that are like micro finishing sponges. This stuff works way better and filters more water. And what you do is start with a 14-inch PVC pipe, drill some holes in it. I used a radial saw. However you want to make your holes, that's completely fine. Make sure the holes are only where the sponge is going to sit on the PVC pipe. And we use 1-inch PVC because an air stone fits in there quite nicely to where the bubbles can still have room to move out of the air stone. And just put it over the PVC like this, and you have a cap at the bottom, obviously. And then what I do is drill a hole at the top of it. It's not a necessity. Some people just drop the air stone in there, but I don't like it because like say a fish could move that air line and it just yanks out the air stone and you lose the entire tank's filtration. So what I like to do is drill a little hole. That way it secures it to the device and it's all like one assembly essentially. So, and then what I do is just drop it in there and fish it down to the bottom. You want to have it down to the bottom as much as possible. So this is it, guys, a cap at the bottom, and you have yourself a sponge filter here. And a lot of people commented, well, if you don't glue the bottom of the assembly to like a rock or something, doesn't it float? And that is a common issue, but the way I fix this is with the 1-inch PVC, what I'll do, what I do, that sounded weird. What I'll do is put some gravel before I put the air stone in the assembly, put some gravel in here, and it sits at the bottom of the cap and weights it down, and then put the air stone in after. It works super good, guys. And some people said that the sponge filter sits on its side, you know, and that's kind of weird, but it's not weird at all, because actually the diagonal of the lift tube actually puts a little back pressure and sucks it out. Sponge filters can get super technical. Like, I've spent hours upon hours of researching, like going to fish like hatcheries and stuff and viewing their sponge filters, because these fish farms have mass scale filtration in tubs and such, and they're going to have the best setup. And this, without getting a massively huge sponge like a lot of them have, because they look, let's be honest, it looks hideous in your tank. So this is the best route I've found. And like I said, in a future, I'm gonna do a future video using the black pipe. It's gonna look a little better than the white pipe, but it's still, this really gets the job done. And I'm gonna go actually hook it up in the fish room right now, and I'll just show it to you. Let's go do it. All right, guys, I just dropped it in this 75 gallon. This is one of my oldest community tanks I've had running. And as you can see, these things are amazing. They work super good, and there's not a lot of back pressure like a regular sponge filter. I don't know why, but there's an air stone on the inside of that sponge filter, and it doesn't put out half the amount of aeration this one does. So I'm guessing some people are gonna say, well, that's a finer sponge and maybe it's clogged and has more bacteria in it, etc. And this is a brand new one. But I have older ones that are more established in the same DIY, and they still put out the same amount of air. So these work really well. Hit up the comments section if you have any questions. I have links in the description box to that sponge, and it's on eBay. So I know Amazon does sell some stuff like it, but this 4x4, it's 4 inches by 4 inches by whatever width you want to buy, and then I just cut it to length. This is about 5 inches long, and I have a bunch of these. So I'm also, like I said, going to be building some with black lift tubes in it, because it'll just look better, I think, in the future. So all right, guys, if you're wondering what's going on here, this is just this is a tank. This is a pump with a little canister on it. It just filled with polyfill. Sometimes when I do a deep cleaning on tanks, the particles and detritus will just fly everywhere, and I'll throw this pump in here with the canister and polyfill, and it'll clear it up in a couple hours, and it really stops it from settling down into the substrate and wrecking the water, which I don't want. So that's where the pump comes in handy. It uses a little mechanical energy, the electricity, but it's a good thing. So all right, guys, this is the DIY sponge filter video.